This month Flashing 12 O'Clock speaks with Glyn and Tobias Manderson-Galvin of MKA New Writing Theatre. Toby, this is the third of 3 venues you've set up in a year. Would you care to fill us in as to what happened with the last 2?
Well, we talked to a lot of people at various places in the world, and the City of Yarra was one of those places. And some of those people at the City of Yarra were really excited and happy about the idea of a new theatre in Richmond. And unfortunately, we never spoke to the ones who weren't so happy about that as an idea until we already had one. Yeah, and unfortunately, especially those people who were most unhappy about there being one, were people who lived right next door. Boon number 1 is that one of the most vehement opposers to there being a theatre in the area has moved away. They've moved out. That's great, but there's still like an enormous building with what, 45 or something units in it next door, and they're, you know, all of those places. A single bedroom just sold there for $615,000. So everyone in there is doing pretty well, and they don't really feel like it's ridiculous because the MCG is half a K away, and every day that there's football, thousands, tens of thousands of people walk past on their way to the corner hotel and all the other hotels in the area. But the idea for locals of having, 30, 40 people come in and out each night still freaks them out for whatever reason. That makes it sound kind of small, like they were afraid that feet would destroy the pavement. But the noise that 30 people creates, 40 people creates, that is a noise. I understand that. I don't think it compares at all to 10,000 people, 20,000 people, but whatever, I see where it comes from.
After being forced out of the original space, you moved your season of short works to a shop in the QV shopping center in the city. How did it go?
All things should happen in a shopping centre. But amongst other reasons, we didn't have to bother about cleaning the toilet. And there was enough for everyone to go to the toilet at the same time. You could send the whole audience down there. Brilliant. Food court. They're, disgusting, but still well-serviced. There's bowling alley there. There's I don't think they have a movie theatre, but you know what those places are like. And so many other businesses operating at, at a level that's not dissimilar to the size of our company. So, I guess easy to have an understanding amongst ourselves.
So why aren't you still there?
Well, it costs a little bit too much to be there. And not to mention the fact that to have stayed there on a long term, to have stayed there for another season, we would need to have done things about soundproofing and so on, because a shop's not really made for that. And at least the space that we were using didn't have the depth. I'd seen other spaces in the building that would have been fine, but not this one. So, yeah, I mean, it was nice. And also there was the fact that there was, not that we really went through it with them, but that there was always a chance that on any given day they might say, right, next week we're turning this into a Starbucks, or, well, not a Starbucks, because, they've gone pretty much belly up in Australia because we don't care for them, but, something else, I don't know, jeans. No one was buying the space, that's a thing. It was part of a little bit of a dead zone in the shopping centre. No one wanted it, so they gave it to us at half price just so they could get some money rolling in. But at some stage, that was going to rent it out again. And then we were back on the street.
And now you're here, which is where?
And now we're at Paran Mission, or level 1 of Paran Mission, in the Sims room, which is, I don't know who, presumably that's someone that gave money, but so it's been used for a music group and a prayer group.
How is your relationship with the mission?
I feel, again, just kind of a little bit of deja vu from back when we were talking with councils, in that, there's different departments and some of them love what's happening, but maybe haven't been so communicative with everyone else. And and at the moment everyone's been really, really welcoming, to change. I think, for a charity that spends here in this building spends most of its time, working with underprivileged people or people, in various states of their life. They're fairly understanding, and the CEO has written us a lovely thing comparing the homeless and disadvantaged with artists.
And is the MKA mission still the same as it was? Is your plan still to run the season of works in rep?
Yeah, well, no, we're not doing this season in rep because, for whatever reason, we got kind of argued out of it by the artists. So, fair enough. We'll force it upon them soon enough, and then they'll learn.
Glyn Roberts, Head of Programming, this was your baby, wasn't it? Do you want to tell us about the rep idea, what it was?
The rep idea was to program 4 plays at once, but have them running consecutively, so they would be on, say the season was 5 nights a week, there would be 4 plays on over that week, and then would be repeated the next week. It's sort of a more condensed version of sort of a German method of programming, where they sort of...
Or opera, for that matter.
Or opera, where they sort of rehearse one play and then they sporadically do it over a very much longer period. And this is sort of a more condensed version, but we sort of kind of got argued out of it because of sort of the time commitment, even though it would end up sort of becoming sort of an artistic sort of part-time job over a long period.
Like playing in a band, a couple of gigs a week. That's a dream.
The time people really couldn't get their heads around it, particularly for the fact that we're doing it for a co-pro, no money and things like that. You'd basically need to ensure people a livelihood before you can do it. It's not to say it's a bad idea. It's just something to sort of think about in the future, and I think it would be a really interesting thing for Melbourne to have, and be able to access that variety of art, of theatre.
Not to mention people seeing their show went on for 3 months. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the most exciting thing for me.
Have you guys taken this to any of the funding bodies or philanthropics yet?
We've kind of been sitting on it and waiting to see, the people that we've spoken to at the moment. Oh, look, we went to the City of Melbourne, and they pretty much said, we welcome your applications. So, but in a really positive way, but then again, the people that you talk to that say that aren't the people that make the decisions. But it was encouraging, anyway, to hear them say you should apply for training or funding before we'd done anything. So obviously it's an idea that excites people, or some people, that But so modelling the theatre on Soho Writers Theatre, on the Royal Court, on also some other ones that we found, like Instant Cafe Theatre, and a few other, places around the world that focus on writers, which just doesn't exist in this city. Which is funny, because we're all like, we're the literary city, and this is where the art happens, and Sydney has one, the Griffin, or has something like it in the Griffin, and Melbourne doesn't.
So, is the plan to focus solely on new Australian playwriting?
What was important to be Australian, another part of when we first came out, the concept was, as a company, was not just Australian work, but staying in touch with other companies as well, other similar companies around the world, so that we can be, we can be getting. Otherwise, great, we can put an Australian work here for Australians. Does it go anywhere? I don't know if it does. We kind of need a little bit of toing and froing if we want to see our works happening overseas. If companies are sending us stuff going, well, I don't know if we can put this on, but maybe it's something that you guys can do, or they're saying, there's other companies bringing work from overseas that's marginal. Red Stitch and also Hoi Polloi bring in stuff that doesn't hit main stage, that's, that can be from the fringe or main stage stuff that's just not making it here. But we're still looking, still focusing on new writing. I think we do want to take a focus on when we bring international stuff in, on hopefully it coming from our neighbours as well.
Glyn and Toby, thanks for talking with us. You have been listening to Flashing 12 O'Clock, interviewing Glyn Roberts and Tobias Manderson-Galvin of MKA New Writing Theatre. Thanks for listening.